Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
James sent me a note about something happening in New Jersey, and electric cars are coming. And it's going to change a lot of things in our society. And I'm not saying that we'll all be electrified by tomorrow. I'm just saying that electric cars are coming. So I don't have an electric car yet. Somewhere down the road, I'm sure I will. I really like the idea about having a vehicle that I don't have to put gasoline in. But of course, recharging it is the issue for me. And so if I've got something I can putter around town and recharge at home, that's great. That's great. But if I want to go on a cross-country trip, I'll probably take one of my gasoline drinkers for now. But here's an interesting point. We all know that when you go and you fuel up gas at a gas station, a huge chunk of what you're paying is road taxes. There's a federal tax and there's a state tax, and they will use that money to defray the costs of observing all the potholes and the local roads. Michigan has got some of the worst roads in the nation. And so I'm aware of this. And so as more and more people adopt electric cars, presumably the amount of gasoline getting sold starts to drop. And so for every car out there not buying gasoline but driving on the roads, you've got wear and tear on the roads that's not being compensated for with fuel tax. Now, there's other ways to raise the money, and the question is, how are you going to do that? So New Jersey has just approved additional EV road use taxes. Now, this is from The Truth About Cars. Chris Teague wrote this. And it's a rather short article because it's a rather simple idea, but it raises many questions. As more electric vehicles hit the roads, states are fighting with the change in tax revenues they're seeing as a result. EV buyers don't pay gas taxes, and that, of course, cuts millions out of state highway budgets, and then it makes it harder to afford improvements or maintenance on the roads. So New Jersey is taking action on the issue with a controversial measure to charge EV owners an annual road tax, which will increase over the next 4 years to $290 in 2028. And you might go, Steve, what's so controversial about that? Oh, that right there is not that controversial. We'll get there. The fee starts at $250 in July and will increase by $10 until 2028. When it reaches $290. EV buyers in the state will also have to pay 4 years of registration fees up front, making it significantly more expensive to purchase a new electric vehicle. So if you want to buy an EV after this law has gone into effect, you got to cough up not $250, but over $1,000. And they say, don't worry about it. Your car is now registered for 4 years. You got to pay 4 years up front. And so as he points out, the first thing that happens is it becomes an obstacle to people who want to buy an electric car. Instead of costing this much, there's now an extra $700 or $800 tacked onto the price. And that's not catastrophic, but it's something. But New Jersey isn't the only state that's tossed around ideas for extra taxes on electric buyers, but the move could put a dent in the already bumpy road that EVs face. Price remains a significant hurdle for buyers, and automakers have struggled to deliver on promises of more affordable models. And I'm sure you've heard that all of the car companies started ramping up to do gigantic production on EVs. And in the last year or so, they started ramping that down a little bit. Turns out that sales were increasing, but not at the rate they were expecting. And of course, there's always these early adopters who will try this stuff. There's a lot of people on the sidelines, like me, who are simply watching to see what's going to happen. And so to entice me to jump into the pool, it sometimes will take a little more than just, hey, let's just do this because everybody else is doing it. Any upward movement in cost will likely deter more people from buying electric, though it's worth noting that New Jersey also offers a healthy $4,000 tax incentive that largely makes this tax a moot point. But as Inside EVs points out, the state's funds to support that incentive often run up before the end of the year, leaving many buyers high and dry. So a lot of times people in New Jersey who wait too long go, I'm going to buy a car and get that rebate. The rebate's gone. The fund it comes from ran out. So there's a couple issues about this. They're saying to raise money, we're going to make electric car buyers pay 4 years of registration in advance. Number one, does everyone have to keep their car 4 years? I presume not. So if I buy a brand new EV and for whatever reason it doesn't work out for me, and I go to sell it, I'm assuming they're not going to give that money back. The state hates to give money back. Does the next buyer have to register it for themselves and pay 4 years of taxes? And because that seems to me that's double dipping. And also, you do have a equal protection question here, because the Constitution of the United States says that the laws have got to protect everybody equally. They got to treat everybody equally. Now, there are some places that you get treated not equally that make complete sense. So people who make more money pay more in taxes if you look at the amount they cut the check for, right? But that's because taxes are based on income, and they've upheld that. So if we say that to register a car in New Jersey, it's going to cost this much if it's gasoline powered. If it's electric, it's going to cost this much. Does that distinction make sense? And some people are going to say, yeah, of course, because you're not paying the road taxes. So that's got to make up for that. Okay, I kind of buy that. But then to force them to register the car for 4 years in advance seems to be a stretch to me, because that is very different than simply saying we're asking for a little bit of money here to make up for road taxes, because we're dressing this up as the registration for your car, but we're making you do it 4 years in advance. And so it will create windfalls for them anytime somebody doesn't keep their car for a full 4 years. And there are other problems as well. And one of them, I've talked before about this. I'm a big believer in the fact that when the government has a income stream coming in, that they are loath to do anything to ever interrupt that stream. But likewise, they spend it before they get it. So somebody's already sat down and said, okay, we sell this many electric cars per year in New Jersey. So that means that next year, whenever this goes into effect, we're going to get 4 times that plus the bumps for $10 each year for anybody who buys an electric car for the first time, and they got it registered for 4 years. So you go, wow, look at all this money we've got. But of course, the second, third, and fourth years of ownership of each of those cars, you get nothing from those people. So it might be that there's a big bump at the front end, and it's going to start tapering off. And I worry about budgeters, people who work for the government, who try to project how much money they'll have to spend 3 years from now, how much money they have to spend 4 years from now. And I worry that someone's going to look at this and go, oh, this doesn't actually solve our problem. It just gives us a bunch of money at the front end that we then lose in years 2, 3, and 4. Now, we will get the bump from the people who sell their cars before the second, third, or fourth year, because we'll get to keep the money we got from them but double dip on somebody else. But can they really predict that? I don't know. There's so many weird things going on here. But the real problem I have is the fact that they're making you register your car for 4 years. And I don't know what the statistics are on automobile ownership of brand new cars. I think that most cars I've bought brand new, I've kept for some time. Now, I've leased a couple of times, just a couple of times, where I had short leases. And then there's a question there. What if you leased a car for 2 years or 3 years? Do you have to pay 4 years of this because it says so? Or will they shorten that? Or will they say you got to pay the entire lease off up front? I don't know. That's not addressed here either. But it seems like a strange thing. And I think that they're going to wind up really contorting themselves, trying to figure out ways to do this. And so I don't know what the current tax rates are on gasoline, because the feds have got a chunk and the state's got a chunk. But they're going to have to make that up somewhere, because, as I've noted previously, the government's got this income stream coming in from the gas taxes, and as that starts dwindling, well, they're already spending all that money. It's spent. So when this dwindles, now there's a shortfall. And can you make it up with a one-time registration overage? I doubt it. So there'll be some issues coming down the road. I'm not saying it's a bad thing about EVs. I'm just saying it's a strange thing about how they've funded road repairs over all these years by doing it off of gasoline taxes. And they're going to have to figure out a second way to do that, other than just simply a sales tax, for instance. Figure out what you're going to not pay in gas tax and slap it onto a sales tax. That would never work, because obviously it'd drive the price of the cars sky high. So, hey, James, thanks for sending this. New Jersey approves additional EV road use taxes. We're going to see all kinds of stories about this as they try to figure this out. The Truth About Cars and Chris Teague wrote that. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Whoever said money doesn't buy happiness didn't know where to shop.